It reminded me of a story that was once told by a Hindu Swami Vivekananda. He came to America back at the end of the 19th century for the great Parliament of Religions in Chicago. Most people in America never met a Hindu Swami before. He showed up, bright, sharp as a tack, and he told this story at the Parliament of Religions. He told a story about a frog that came from the sea. The sea frog came onto land one day and was hopping along and suddenly fell into a little water well. Now, inside this deep, dark well, he found another frog who had been born and raised in the well his whole life and had never known anything else. Now, quite surprised, the well frog asked the sea frog, "Now, where in the world did you come from?" The sea frog explained that he came from the ocean. "The ocean?" said the well frog. "What, pray tell, is the ocean?" The ocean? It's an enormous body of water that covers most of the world, that's filled with fish and animals and all kinds of creatures. What do you mean, an enormous body of water? Is it bigger than my well? And the frog puffed out his chest and he jumped from one side of the well to the other. "Bigger than your well?" The sea frog started laughing. "You must be kidding." To which the well frog said, "That's impossible. There's nothing bigger than this well. Get out of here. You're a liar." So the sea frog, he left. He went back into the world, outside, while the well frog went on for the rest of his life in his little world, thinking that his was the largest body of water in existence. I explained to my conversation partner that I had spent 5 years traveling and living all over the world, meeting people of many different religions, and that I had seen how many Buddhists and Hindus and Muslims and native peoples and others, how they treat their children, how they treat their spouses and their neighbors and run their businesses, and how they treated me, a perfect stranger. And I saw firsthand that these people are good people, godly people, and that any notion of a God who would damn these people and their children to an eternal torture chamber is not a God worth worshiping. As a matter of fact, such a God sounds more like a devil. And I explained that the idea that because a person is born in Oklahoma and America into a Christian family, and because he'd been told all of his life that only Christians go to heaven, that I could understand why he would believe as he does. But I wanted him to know that I have seen what I would call the Spirit of God, the power of love and compassion in people of every religion. I have seen it in their lives, and I've seen it in their worship. I suggested that he be careful not to go around throwing rocks through other people's windows and to defame God by saying that he would send such people into hell. Now, from the look on his face, it looked like he was taking it all in. That maybe there was a breakthrough in his life. Now, I should say that Dr. Church admits that his metaphor, like all metaphors, is imperfect because he realizes that the great light shines as much out from inside of each of us as it does from the outside in. His definition of God is that which is within each of us and yet greater than all of us. Within each of us and yet greater than all of us. That's God. Whatever that is, whatever name we might use. Now, I want to conclude with one of my favorite illustrations. There was once a tourist who was traveling through England, and in a small town, he came upon a group of people that were building something beautiful. And so he decided to stop and to pull over and to find out what they were doing. So when he came into the entrance, there was a man in blue jeans with a hammer, he said, "What are you doing?" And the man said, "Well, I'm trimming this doorway." He said, "Okay." And the tourist went on, and he saw some other people who were wearing goggles and gloves and were covered with glass shards. And he said, "What are you doing?" And they explained that they were building a stained glass window. And then he looked over and he saw an elderly woman who was working with some children on what looked like a speaker's platform of some kind. And he asked her what they were doing. And the woman replied, "We are building a cathedral to God and the human spirit." She knew what they were doing. They were building a cathedral to God and the human spirit. And that, my friends, is exactly what we're doing right here. In the center of Tulsa, Oklahoma, in the center of America, we are building a cathedral to God and the human spirit. And if you're ever hanging upside down from a jungle gym or in any other precarious situation and someone asks you, "What do we believe?" you might try giving the answer that the children give. We teach that there's one God and all are saved. God bless you.